Hello. Yeah, I'm sure it's been a while since you've seen this pretty face on camera. Yeah, I actually intended to do this video a long fucking time ago, but, I got caught up in other things, and it's like, yeah, I barely get any views on my channel, so it's like, do I get barely any views doing something I want to do, or get barely any views doing something I have to force myself to do in spite of my lack of motivation? Yeah, take your pick. Anyway, I just figured I'd do this anyhow, since I played exactly 10 games last year. Yeah, no kidding. I have just barely enough games for this list. And, you know, I wouldn't normally include ports or remakes, but I'm gonna have to do that. You know, just before we get this whole thing started, I have not played Smash Ultimate yet. Yes, I know. I don't have a Nintendo Switch yet. I'm, you know, gonna try to save up for one this year. But, anywho, without any further ado, let's get this started.
I like this game!
Luigi's Mansion on 3DS. Now, some might consider it a questionable choice to even put this game on this list in the first place, but considering it was between this and Street Fighter V Arcade Edition, which is, like, pretty much pointless. It's just like, you know, a season pass and an extra game mode that was already patched into the original, so yeah, not really much of a point at that. This, on the other hand, it's sort of special to me in a way, because I played the original as a kid a lot, beat the game like 13 times, and then sold the game, but after a while, I kinda had the urge to play it again, as if 13 times wasn't enough. So later down the road, this game gets announced on 3DS, and I'm like, yo, nice. Got that game freaking day one, and yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of it. It isn't without its fair share of problems, though. Like, getting used to the controls is, like, the biggest struggle. It didn't take me that long to get used to it, but it's still awkward. Like, the original Luigi's Mansion is a two-stick game, basically. That's the best way to play it. And I was playing it on this thing. This fucking green 2DS here. Now, I heard the game plays better on a new 3DS, but I don't have one of those. But, you know, point is, Luigi's Mansion wasn't made for that. And a lot of people were bitching that this game wasn't on Nintendo Switch. But, I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense what they did, because Luigi's Mansion 2 was on 3DS, right? So fans of Luigi's Mansion 2 would now get to experience the original game. Plus, I mean, not everybody has a Nintendo Switch. I mean, you'd be surprised, a lot of fucking people have bought it. It's one of the best-selling consoles of all time, but there are still people like me that don't have one of those, so I was pretty happy about it, personally. And, it's pretty faithful to the original for the most part. Like, not too much has been altered. Luigi's character design is slightly different. It's not, like, as expressive as it was, but you know, I don't think too much of the charm of the original game has been sacrificed for the sake of this remake. It's pretty much the same game. That said, if you've played the original or still have the original, there's no point in really playing it, but if you're getting into it for the first time, this isn't a bad way to go. Like, because say you want to get into the game, but you don't have a GameCube. I would imagine the cheapest you could get a GameCube is like $50, and the cheapest you can get that is like $30 to $40. So if you already have a 3DS or a 2DS or whatever, it'd probably be cheaper just to get the 3DS version. And like I said, it's pretty faithful for the most part, and I enjoyed it, so yeah, I like it. I like the original, and I like this one. Moving on.
I like this game!
Mega Man X Legacy Collection 1+2. Yes, you might be noticing a pattern here. The vast majority of what I played in 2018 was ports and/or remakes. Mainly because there were a lot of ports and/or remakes in 2018. And while this is not technically a new game, just a compilation of old games, it's a damn good one. And it definitely gets the job done. And you know, if you're looking to play the Mega Man X games, this is not a bad way to do it. It's got, you know, all 8 main series Mega Man X games. The only one it doesn't include is Command Mission, and they're all pretty great, but for the most part. 7 is pretty janky. 6 could be better, but I mean, for the most part, X1 through 5, they're pretty good, and X8's pretty good too. At least decent. Point is, you're looking to play them, this is definitely the way to do it. These, another thing that's great is, 2 discs. You know, a multi-disc compilation. What Activision couldn't be fucking bothered to do with Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Instead had to have like a day 1 download. But that game, yeah, it's 2 discs. You don't see that often these days. Oh, excuse me, damn. But yeah, it's an excellent compilation. Like, this might even be like the best Legacy collection yet. Easily. I felt Legacy Collection 1 was, you know, lacking compared to Anniversary Collection. I thought Anniversary Collection was better than Legacy Collection. Then there was Legacy Collection 2, which I guess if you were to buy both of those, it would resolve the problem, but, you know, this is just like both X Legacy Collection games in a single package. You can get them digitally for $20 each, or you can just get that as $40. Either way, it's a good compilation. Not much more to say than that, so moving on.
I like this game!
Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Speaking of Reignited Trilogy, here we are. I already reviewed this game, but I mean that review didn't turn out that great. It's not to say any of my reviews do. It's kind of why I stopped reviewing in the first place, but I guess to summarize, best way to describe this game, it's the original 3 Spyro games on PS1, completely rebuilt from the ground up with really good graphics. The game looks really good. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous game. And they retain, you know, what made them good in the first place. They play pretty accurately. So if you like the originals, you're probably gonna like these versions too. Or if you've never played the originals, this isn't a bad way to get into Spyro. Now, you know, there are some glitches. I ran into some of my own glitches, but apparently a lot of other people ran into a lot more glitches. And then, of course, there's that, you know, forced day one download deal. That doesn't affect the quality of the game at all, granted, but it is worth mentioning. And yeah, and you know, there are a few, you may or may not run into a few glitches, but none of them, well, at least not a lot of them are that game breaking. So it's a 90% functional game. Yeah. So that's good. But you'd think delaying the game for 2 months, they could have gotten a little more of the kinks out, but it's not a big deal. Yeah. And the one thing that almost ruined it, and might ruin it for other people as well, is the dancing skeleton. For those of you who know what I'm talking about, enough said, but yeah, cringy dancing and cringy cringiness. Kind of like this channel. Well, not the dancing, but the cringy cringiness, yes. Absolutely. I'm not ashamed to admit that, but yeah. The dancing skeleton in the original game, perfectly fine. I don't know why they had to incorporate meme culture into this shit. Keep that the fuck out of here. But other than that, I give it a pass. Anywho, moving on.
I like this game!
Sonic Mania Plus. Alright, I'm gonna admit it. I'm really reaching with this one. Excuse me. But Sonic Mania is an excellent game. Probably my favorite Sonic game of all time. And they added 2 characters to the game that, you know, nobody had seen hide nor hair of in fucking years. Except, you know, that wanted poster, or no, missing poster in Sonic Generations, which was just really clever. But yeah, it's a physical copy for the very few people who are into that thing. It's got a gold cover, and it's got a reversible cover that looks like Sega Genesis box art, which is really cool, and it has an art book, which is pretty neat. So yeah, great for fans of Sonic. Easily, and anyone who's into collecting physical copies of games, which I generally am. And you know, it's got an extra game mode, 2 new characters. Granted, you don't have to get that to get those. It's like $5 DLC, so if you already have the original version of the game, you can just pay $5, get all that, minus the physical copy, the gold cover, the reversible cover, and the art book. But for those who don't care about any of that and just want the game, but say you didn't get the original version of the game when it initially came out, you'd probably be better off grabbing this instead. And I just wanted to talk about it. Felt it was worth talking about. Anyway, moving on.
I like this game!
Deltarune Chapter 1. Finally, something that isn't a port, a remake, or add-on content. Hallelujah. But yeah, this game really caught me by surprise. Like, for real. Like, Undertale is, you know, despite what anybody might say about the cringy fan base or just the, like, overhype surrounding Undertale, I'll tell you, that game is easily one of the best games of 2015, right up there with The Witcher 3 and Bloodborne. In fact, I think I personally like it better than those games. Fucking fight me. You want to fight, bro? Bring it the fuck on. Anyway, so this game came out, and it's absolutely free. Absolutely free. Came out on Halloween. You can download it for absolutely fucking free. And it's not quite as good as Undertale, but it comes pretty fucking close. And we're talking a game that's free here. Let's not forget that little tidbit. But yeah, pretty dope for being a free game. And it still retains that humor. It has good music, like Undertale, but not quite as good as Undertale's music, but still pretty good. The combat's freaking excellent. Like, combat, that is the one thing they improved upon considerably. Except for one thing. The moral choice thing is, like, completely gone. If you try to kill enemies, they'll just run away, so you can't actually kill them. So a true genocide run doesn't exist in this game. If the premise of Undertale was that actions have consequences, then the premise of this game is the total opposite, which is your choices don't matter. And this game will constantly make that ridiculously obvious. But yeah, you can have multiple party members now, like traditional RPGs, and the dynamic between them is great because, you know, some of them have like contrasting personalities and shit, which is always nice to see. That always makes for funny interactions. It's like the cast of Tales of Berseria, how like they all were like polar opposites of each other but had to work in spite of their differences. Yeah, it's a similar thing here, except your protagonist doesn't even talk, so it's usually just a bunch of bickering between the two other your two party members and the main bad guy, who appears every so often and is basically like what you'd get if you put Sans and Papyrus in a blender. It's basically those two combined into a single character. Undertale was a funny game, and this is a funny game too. Despite the fact that this game is unfinished and could potentially go unfinished for like close to a decade, depending on how things go, I'm confident that once this game is complete, it's gonna be the best game Toby Fox ever made. Granted, he hasn't made very many games besides Undertale, but I still think that this game is gonna be like a freaking masterpiece once it's finished, because it's already pretty good. Not too many complaints. Anywho, moving on.
I like this game!
Mega Man 11. There we go. Now we're really getting into some good stuff. Seems like this was a good year for Mega Man. Or 2018 was a good year for Mega Man. Keep forgetting this is 2019. But yeah. It was a good year for Mega Man. Yeah. I was pretty happy when this game was announced, because it really seemed like Capcom wasn't going to do anything with the Mega Man series anymore, and then suddenly this game gets announced. Well, after a few, ports. Which I guess was kind of the groundwork for this. Just to see if people were still interested in Mega Man, which I think people had made that painfully obvious, but okay. I'm not gonna argue, I guess. But this might be my favorite Mega Man game. It seems like every once in a while, Capcom can actually do something pretty cool. Like with Resident Evil 7 and this game. See what you get when you actually listen to your fans, Capcom? Yeah, you actually make something that makes people happy instead of just jerking the fuck off. But yeah, the only thing that really bothers me is that the levels can kind of overstay their welcome. This game has some ridiculously long levels. I don't know why. I don't know, it's a personal complaint of mine, because I usually, if I play a 2D platformer, I like the levels to be like short but sweet. But this game kind of borders on long and excruciating. But it's still a fun game, and like the gear mechanic's fucking cool, because you can slow down time, or you can make your projectiles more powerful. I don't know if there's a way you can do both, but yeah. And they have the shop from 7, 8, 9, and 10. Yeah, they still got the shop, which yeah. Also, they got a beginner mode where you have infinite lives, but there's not really a point to that, since it's incredibly easy to grind for lives in this game. Like, really easy. Granted, your life limit is 9, so if you suck that badly, which I kinda do, admittedly, it's not really gonna help you much, but I managed, so I didn't have to play on the lowest difficulty setting, so yay for not completely sucking, but sort of sucking. Yeah, I don't have much more to say other than this game's good. It's a pass. It's way better than Mighty Number 9, even though I kind of like that game too. Controversial opinion, I know, but this game's better. So is, like, every other Mega Man game that isn't X7. Or Mega Man Soccer. But yeah, all in all, probably my favorite Mega Man game. I liked it a lot, so good job, Capcom. I'd like to know when Capcom's gonna learn how to make fighting games again. Street Fighter V and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite were really disappointing. So, hey Capcom, next time you shit out a fighting game, maybe make it good this time. Just FYI. Anyway, moving on.
I like this game!
Chasm. So just a little backstory. There were exactly 2 games I was really looking forward to in 2018, both of which got delayed to 2019. Kingdom Hearts 3 and Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Now, what does that have to do with this game? Well, it's pretty interesting how I discovered this one. Because I was, I think on, like, the Bloodstained Twitter page or whatever. Because, you know, I followed them because I wanted to be updated on shit so I could know when the hell Ritual of the Night was coming out. Which I still don't know. Because they refused to give a release date for that game. At least Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming out in a few days, if it doesn't get delayed again. Which I think like IGN already got like a review copy, so looking pretty good. But that's besides the point. I was on that Twitter page, and all of a sudden I saw Castlevania-styled game, Chasm, coming out soon. I'm like, what is this? What is this? And I looked it up, and it was a Metroidvania game, like Ritual of the Night was intended to be. I'm like, okay, here we go. Here's a game that can maybe hold me over until Ritual of the Night finally comes out in like 10 fucking years. Sure enough, I play it, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. You know, it was no Symphony of the Night or, you know, Aria of Sorrow or Super Metroid. It wasn't, you know, as good as any of those, but it was a decent enough Metroidvania game, and I liked it. It was simple yet fun. And I really liked the atmosphere too. Like, it just had this certain atmosphere to it. It wasn't quite Castlevania atmosphere. In fact, the only thing that really matched Castlevania at all was it had some similar monsters and it had similar combat mechanics. Other than that, kind of had its own sort of atmosphere. It's hard to really explain it. You'd have to see it for yourself. It's a pretty nice looking game too. I don't really know what to say other than I had fun with it, and it did seem to borrow a lot from Symphony of the Night, which is like my favorite PS1 game. So yeah, if you can even be on par with Symphony of the Night in terms of quality, you know you're doing a good job. This game got somewhat mixed reviews, but I don't know. I thought it was pretty good game. It was pretty solid. Moving on.
I like this game!
Bloodstained Curse of the Moon. Speaking of Bloodstained, this is the little side game that was promised if Ritual of the Night reached a certain stretch goal, which apparently it reached that stretch goal. Rather than being a Metroidvania game, this game is more akin to the classic Castlevania games, mainly Castlevania 3. That seems to be the game it takes the most inspiration from. It's got like the same character switching mechanic, only it's improved upon significantly. I think, you know, each character has their own health bar even. Like, I already reviewed this game, but that's easily one of my worst reviews, even for my standards. I don't know how I managed to be happy with how that turned out and upload it. Yeah. And in some ways I feel like I'm lucky I don't get that many views, because I'd be the biggest laughingstock on YouTube. I know I would. There'd be fucking memes of me. My face would be all over the internet. But I guess to some people, any publicity is good publicity. Meme the fuck out of me. Anyway, I'm getting completely fucking off topic. This might just be my favorite 2D platformer of all time. I know it's a bold statement because there's a lot, and I've played a lot. But, you know, I think this is better than any of the Castlevania games, any of the Mega Man games, anything. Well, like, maybe not objectively. Then again, I mean, everything's subjective anyway, but it combines a lot of mechanics that I personally like. It's kind of like a crossbreed between Ninja Gaiden and Castlevania in some ways. Like, it has some Ninja Gaiden-esque mechanics as well as Castlevania mechanics. It's kind of a combination of those. Though the atmosphere is mainly Castlevania and the music is mainly Castlevania as well. And this game was a nice welcome, and it does give me hope for how Ritual of the Night. It does make me believe that Ritual of the Night will be a really good game, hopefully, because this was a really good game. But I mean, I thought the difficulty was just right. Like, you know, it wasn't quite Castlevania level, but it came pretty close sometimes. But I thought it was just right. Like, you know, not too easy, not too hard. It was, you know, right in between, which is like exactly how I like it. So this game definitely seemed to suit all of my needs, and I hope it suited a lot of other people's needs as well. Point is, I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. Don't have much more to say than that. So, moving the fuck on.
I like this game!
God of War 2018. Well, this game was bound to be on the list somewhere, wasn't it? Shouldn't surprise anybody. Unless, of course, you know, I hadn't played it, which... I mean, being a God of War fan, there was no way I wasn't gonna play this game. There was no fucking way I wasn't gonna play this game. Especially since I got a PS4 in 2018. Okay? I got a PS4 in 2018 just to fucking play this game, okay? So, like... Anyway, it mostly lives up to the hype. There's certain things about previous God of War games I like more, but the story, probably the best one in the entire series. I like how Kratos has grown as a character. Like, he's no longer just that guy that kills anything with a face and fucks anything with a vagina. Anyone who's familiar with the series knows what I mean by that. You know what I mean. Kills anything with a face, fucks anything with a vagina. That's not the Kratos we're dealing with anymore. This Kratos is a father, and he is teaching his son... basically teaching his son how to be a badass. While also, giving him anger management. I didn't think Kratos was an anger management expert. That walking ball of revenge? Are you sure? Now, I'm probably describing the game in like the worst way possible, but that's kind of what I took from it. Like, you know, his son was, you know, a little walking anger machine, and Kratos was like, hey, could you take it down a little bit? Yeah, they meme the hell out of that. Like, he says boy a lot. I don't think... There's very few times in the game where he even, calls him out by name. I think his name is Atreus, but for the vast majority of the game, he's just called boy. Read it, boy. People have even nicknamed this game Dad of Boy. But yeah, the main premise of the game is basically Kratos lost yet another wife, which isn't really a spoiler because that's pretty much established in the beginning. I don't know, you know, so it's not. And saying yet another, suggesting that he lost one before, that's not really a spoiler either, since that's established. I mean, not right away in the first game, but it's, yeah, I'm not really spoiling anything for anyone with any of this. But basically, I guess her dying wish was to have her ashes scattered across, like, the tallest mountain in all of Asgard, or wherever they are. So, that's exactly what he does. So, the entire journey, that's basically the end goal, is to find the tallest mountain in all of Asgard. But it's more about the journey than the destination, and the journey is a pretty dope one. Which, might make people wonder. If you haven't played Smash Ultimate yet, and God of War isn't your favorite game of this year, then what could possibly be your #1 game? Well, feast your eyes on this, folks, because my #1 game of 2018 is
Big Chungus on PS4.
Just kidding, that name fucking sucks. So, with that said, hold on to your seats, folks, because my real #1 game of 2018 is